What is going on, YouTube? Back here today on the Fumble Pod. Got a big video right here covering our NFL Week 13 reactions. I know we waited till after the Monday night game because originally I was going to talk about some of these games, but Sunday was a very event filled day, and I was waiting to see what was going to happen on Monday because crazy things have happened all weekend. If you're new around here, welcome to the Fumble Pod experience. I am your host, Dalton Lee. Let's jump right on into it. We're going to start off with obviously our Thanksgiving slates, move to Black Friday, and then we only originally talked about one game on Sunday, but there were a couple other games that we're going to also talk about. So let's get right into them. So first off, we had Packers Lions. We went into this game thinking, okay, we got two teams going back and forth, trying to compete for the division. Kind of a toss up game. I thought Detroit at home. The Packers have been very up and down lately. I thought Detroit was going to be able to get the win, and Detroit was kind of flat to start this game. The Packers truly just came out and were dominant. That defense was playing great. Jordan Love looked phenomenal. I think Jordan Love threw 4 touchdowns on the day. Truly a great game, but the big difference was the defense. Packers defense just played so good. Micah Parsons had a big day. Their secondary had a pretty good day. They were mainly, even though Gibbs still had a decent day, the Packers front four were so dominant. It limited their run game, put a lot of pressure on Jared Goff. Jared Goff started to crumble a bit, and you could feel the rest of the team starting to do the same. Amon St. Brown got hurt very early, did not finish the game. Jameson Williams, even though he had a pretty good day, had some big drops. And the Lions just all day were playing from behind. Packers were able to get a lead, keep a lead, and keep their foot on the gas pedal to continue pushing forward and just being phenomenal. And even with all this being said, it still came down to a late fourth down that the Packers went for. They get it. It's ball game. Detroit would be out of timeouts. And Jordan Love, off his back foot, wasn't even able to get a full rotation. It was just straight arm. Is able to throw a 25-yard dime for a contested catch to, I believe it was Dontavian Wicks, with Brian Branch all over him. It was probably the best coverage you could have put on a player. And he makes a jump ball catch to end the game. That's the type of groove the Packers were in. They really could do no wrong. And they went in and got a big win to stay competitive in their division. And the Lions are starting to look like, is there a world where they miss the playoffs? I still think they're a good team. I think they got a lot of injuries they're dealing with on defense, dealing with a little bit on offense now. But I still think the Lions are a good team. But just within their division, they got to fight against the Packers and the Bears, oddly enough. And then the rest of the NFC that's starting to shape up and be really competitive. There is a world where the Lions do not make the playoffs. After they've been dominant really the last 2 years. It's a weird scenario for them to be in. Weird scenario, but again, a great win from the Packers. Went out there and got after it and just earned it on the field. Then we get into the second game. Chiefs Cowboys. We were looking at this going, okay, Chiefs are a 3.5-point favorite. On the road, they got a little bit of magic coming up. They got to win this game to probably stay relevant in their division. And for a while, Cowboys and Chiefs, they were going back and forth. Cowboys got an early turnover. They were able to capitalize on it, go up big. And it looked like they were going to kind of run away with it. Chiefs crawl back into it. And that game also comes down to a late conversion that the Cowboys converted to hold on to the possession, run out clock in the game. And it's like the Chiefs, they start off almost too slow, and then they're trying to play comeback, and eventually they're going to run into a team that they're not going to be able to mount that hill on. And the Cowboys defense, a defense that the first half of the year historically was looking awful, has really bounced back. Logan Wilson's been really solid. Quinnen Williams and Kenny Clark are playing phenomenal next to each other. Their secondary starting to get healthy and make a couple plays. And to pair that with this caliber of an offense, this Cowboys team is playing really good. And still I understand they only won by a field goal, but this was a game that they would have lost by probably a score just because the defense would have been able to get enough stops. But they did. And the offense was able to capitalize off the stops, which is what a good team should do. And this wasn't like, back in years past when they're having to beat the, subpar Giants or Eagles. This Chiefs team is still a really solid team. I don't think they're world champions, so to speak, but they're still a really good team. It's still Patrick Mahomes. It's still a pretty good wide receiver cast he's got around him, and a really good defense. And they went and straight up earned this win. Really did. The Cowboys defense, I think, is more so the key in this than the offense. The offense had a great day, but the defense had Mahomes running around for his life at times. Whether it was how quickly they got pressure, or honestly how good the secondary was at times. Not saying they were perfect, but there were several possessions that Chiefs are in third and longs and are just able to somehow convert due to, maybe a missed tackle here or there on some underneath stuff, a penalty. But the Cowboys, I will say, were very impressive with how they're playing on both sides of the ball. The offense we know has been there all year. Defense has been playing some catch up, but they're starting to look like they've caught up. The Chiefs are in a tough spot right now. They're sitting at 6-6. Their division's only getting stronger between the Chargers, who looks like they're going to be playing without Justin Herbert for a little bit, and then the Broncos, who just continue to win games. Chiefs are going to have a real tough time, obviously, winning the division. I think that's almost out of the equation, but just truly going to the playoffs. And if they do, they're going to be a 7 seed, a 6 seed maybe. So they're going to be on the road the entire time if they were to try and run the gauntlet. I don't think it's a good recipe for them this year. I do think they need a reset year, if you will. I just don't know if Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid, potentially Travis Kelce, if those type of guys have a timeline to reset for a year or two. I think they're truly in win now mode. But I don't know. They got some issues to work on. I would start with the offensive line and probably the secondary for sure. I think if they can clean up those two, they can figure out the rest. But I feel like that's what they've been doing the last couple of years, and every once in a while they get that big break where the offensive line plays good and they're able to go pretty far, and then the very next year it just falls right back to hell. So I don't know what they got in store after the season's over, how they're going to address these needs, but it's going to be a really interesting spot, if you will. Then we get to Bengals Ravens. Joe Burrow's comeback game, and Ravens were favored 7.5, and a part of me was sitting here going, okay, Joe Burrow's back. They got Jamar Chase. T. Higgins is going to miss it. The Ravens have been very up and down. I understand they won 5 straight, but the defense still is a little questionable. And I picked the Ravens to win, but I picked the Bengals to keep it very close. And at first, that's what it was starting to look like. It was going to be the Bengals were going to win a close game, or they were kind of fooling themselves into actually being able to win, and then the Ravens were going to take over. And then the Ravens just never took over. The Bengals' first 4 scores were all field goals. It's like 12-7. And it's like, what are the Ravens doing? They were shooting themselves in the foot several times. Lamar had 2 fumbles. Lamar had a couple picks. It was just truly absolute disaster class by the Ravens offense. And eventually, Joe Burrow and that offense started clicking, threw up a couple touchdowns. And it's like, oh, they just not only win the game, they kind of dominated the game. They won 32-14. Ravens couldn't really get anything going on offense, whether it was running game or passing game. And if they did, they would turn the ball over. The Bengals had a decent run game. They didn't play great in terms of running the ball. The passing game was really good, whether it was coming out of the backfield for running backs, Jamar Chase, tight ends were getting involved. Joe Burrow was making plays happen. And truly, it was. We also got to shout out the defense. The Bengals defense did play really good. They got after Lamar quite a bit, forced turnovers. There wasn't that much busted coverage. This was probably one of the better games the Bengals defense has played all year. I'd like to see them do it 2 weeks in a row, but if they can get a fraction of this defense and maybe a slightly more cleaned up version of the offense, the Bengals could be dangerous. Could be. They're only going to get healthier. They're only going to get T. Higgins back at some point. I think potentially this upcoming week, if not the week after. So who knows what the Bengals might be getting ready to do? Because the division's wide open between the Bengals, the Ravens, and the Steelers. So who knows what's going to happen? The Bengals got to play the Ravens again, I think, in 2 weeks. In Cincinnati, this was in Baltimore. They get to play them at home yet again. It's just some weird things are going to happen in that division. The Ravens, I don't know what you're doing either. It's almost like the Chiefs. Like, you're not super beat. You kind of are a little injured, but a lot of your team's getting healthier. You got really good players. I don't know what the issue is. Lamar for most of the season's played pretty good. This was probably his worst game of the season by far, but you have a really good defense. On paper, you have a really good defense, but they have yet to show up really this year. Didn't show up this week. You allowed a team that just got their starting quarterback back from a 2.5 month injury and put 32 on your head at home on prime time. What are we doing? Got to give credit to the ball guys. Joe Burrow is just a guy. Straight up. He don't need no warm up. He's just like, throw me out there, coach. I got you. And truly was that guy. Best player on the field by far. I'm not going to say that the Bengals are going to make a run, but I've always believed if you have Joe Burrow on the field, you have a chance. And the Thursday night game proved that as long as he's on the field, you have a chance. So I'm interested to see what's going to happen with them the rest of the year. The Ravens got a tough slate of games. Who knows what's going to happen to them? They might miss the playoffs. We're in weird territory right now. And then we get a Friday's game. The Bears are traveling to Philadelphia, play the Eagles, battle of the 8-3s. It's weird to put Bears and 8-3 in the same conversation, but battle of the 8-3s. Eagles opened up as favorites. We picked the Eagles in this. No, we didn't. We picked the Bears to win this game. We picked the upset. Just because I felt like the Eagles at times were being a little lackluster on offense. Haven't really had a great game on offense. The defense can be a little vulnerable to the secondary and getting beat up front at times. And that's exactly what happened. The Bears ran the ball phenomenally. Kyle Monungai and DeAndre Swift both go for 120 yards apiece and a touchdown each. What? And Caleb Williams actually had a decent day, made a couple good throws late, helped move the chains in Philly in a hostile environment like that, and truly played good. Now, granted, the Eagles were also shooting themselves in the foot quite a bit. Couldn't really establish a whole lot on offense early on. I think they started the game with 3 3-and-outs. 3 3-and-outs. And the Bears, were just nose on the grindstone. They were just grinding out yards. And eventually those little 2 to 3 yard runs were turning into 5-6 yard runs. Get an 8 yard run here or there. If Monungai got tired, they just threw in Swift, kept rolling, vice versa. Opened up the play action. They were able to get tight ends involved. DJ Moore, Rome Odunze. All around, a great game plan by the Bears, and it was executed. I think the most impressive thing is how good is this Bears offensive line? Because they were pushing around this Eagles defensive line. Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, Jalen Phillips, all of them getting pushed around. They were able to get to the second level and continue to push through them. Like, this Bears offensive line played a masterclass against a front seven that we would argue is probably the best in football. On paper and from what we've seen, best front seven in football. That front seven has kept the Eagles in a lot of games and has won them a lot of games over the last 2 years, or year and a half, if you will. And they just they dominated them all day, from first snap to last. This Eagles offense has to get it together. You have too many playmakers. You're too healthy to be playing this bad. How are you going to tell me a team with A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Jalen Hurts, Saquon Barkley, and several Pro Bowler to All Pro level offensive linemen can't put together more than 15 points? And it's not like you were playing a great defense. The Bears' defense has been middle of the pack. They're good. They're not great. This isn't the 85 Bears that you're playing against with several future Hall of Famers. And all you can muster is 15 points. Couldn't really run the ball to save your lives. The passing game at times was there, but it was more so late when the Bears were playing soft coverage because they were up 24-9. Like, at this point, you got to question: is it play calling? Is it possibly Jalen Hurts? Is it? I don't know. AJ Brown had a solid day. Devontae Smith had a couple nice grabs, but again, a lot of those are in garbage time. This Eagles team isn't built necessarily to come from behind big deficits. They were built to run the ball, open up play action, and dump a lot of points on you early and then just dominate you. That's how the defense was built. The defense wasn't built to have a great secondary. It was built for them to be up 2 scores and tell their D line, go get the quarterback. And when that's their recipe and they can execute it, they're phenomenal. But they have yet to really do that this year. It's been a lot of close, grinded out, or potentially having to come back early games. The only game I can really think of where they've been dominant early and was able to get after the opposing team's quarterback was early in the season when they played the Bucks and jumped out to a 14-0 lead in a matter of like 6 minutes. And even then, they almost let the Bucks come back because they got stagnant in the second half. But I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's coaching at this point, if it's just frustration going around the locker room, but this Eagles team is just not playing up to its standards at all. Really on both sides of the ball. I would say more so the offense than the defense because the defense has still been pretty good. If you put a defense on the field for 40 plus minutes, they're going to get tired. They're going to allow scores. Plain and simple. The Eagles got to figure out a running game and to make the lives easier of Jalen Hurts and still find a way to feed the ball to A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. If they can do that, they can still be very good. But until they can prove that they can do that on a week-to-week basis again, I don't know if they're going to win the division. They're 8-4, but the Cowboys just beat them in their last game. The Cowboys are trending in the right direction, where the Eagles are stagnant / kind of falling backwards. I don't know. I do not know what's going to happen. And then before we talk about the 4:30 game that I wanted to touch on, or that I did touch on, I'm going to go over a couple games that were some really shocking good games. So we're going to go over the 1 o'clock games. Texans, Colts. Colts were the favorite. I thought the Colts at home were going to be able to handle business. C.J. Stroud coming back from concussion. I figured he might be a little rusty, and he kind of was, but the Texans defense was able to lead the way and give them a big win within their division to get them right back into the playoff race. Make Daniel Jones look like New York Giants Daniel Jones yet again. And I understand he's got a fractured fibula. He's playing on some injuries. But this Colts team just, I don't know, they're starting to unravel right at the seams. Can't run the ball that well with Jonathan Taylor. Tyler Warren had a bad fumble on a 4th down quarterback sneak. They run a little fake motion, give it to Tyler Warren, goes up the middle. And that's kind of what killed the game plan. Jonathan Taylor couldn't do much, so they're putting the ball in Daniel Jones' hands, having to be an aerial raid offense, and he kind of struggles with that because, A, this front four is also phenomenal in Houston. Got one of the best defenses in the league. And Daniel Jones can get a little tight at times, overthrow some guys, throw it short. That's where you get the turnovers. And Daniel Jones really just did not have a great day. Granted, C.J. Stroud didn't have a great day, but he did just enough not to lose this game. He really was able to put the ball in his playmakers' hands, let them handle it, and leave the offense in a good enough position to at least capitalize on really good defensive play. Big win for them on the road. The Probably the best game of the weekend, in my opinion, just in terms of excitement and joy. Panthers Rams, dude. Rams were the clear favorite coming into Charlotte, and probably, if they play this game 9 times out of 10, probably win this game. But they didn't. Matthew Stafford on the opening drive goes down, breaks the NFL record for most consecutive touchdown passes without an interception. Panthers go right down and score again. Tie ball game. Rams are moving right back down the field. I'm like, oh, they score here again. It's going to be a shootout. Might get ugly. Panthers force interception. Go down, kick the field goal. They're up. No, they had to punt. They started to have a good drive, had to punt. Matthew Stafford then throws a pick six to Mike Jackson, of all people, because J.C. Horn was hurt. Throws a pick six to Mike Jackson. He takes it to the crib. Panthers got a lead. Then Devontae Adams happens again. Tied ball game. And then the Rams kick a field goal to go up late into the half. Okay. Panthers get the ball, put together a really good drive, take the lead. Then, I'm trying to remember how this goes. No, they tied it. I was literally watching this game. They go back and forth with some scoring. Panthers are up 24-21 at one point. Rams starting to put a drive together late. It's like, uh-oh. Puka Nacua makes probably the best catch of the weekend. He goes up. Mike Jackson draped all over him. Is able to go here, bring it in to get him first and goal. And then they immediately score with Kyron Williams with like 6-ish minutes left in the game. Panthers start moving the ball a little bit, get about midfield. It's fourth and two. Fourth and two. They're gonna go for it. It's kind of raining. Don't want to kick the field goal because you're still down a point. Got to go for it in this situation. About 4-ish minutes left. Clean pocket. Bryce Young delivers a strike. Tataroa McMillan go up late. 31-28. The bank is rocking. Rams start moving right down the field. Get about 2.5 minutes left in the game. And then the one thing that has not been good for the Panthers all year, the pass rush. Derek Brown makes the play of the game. Probably play of the year for the Panthers, honestly. Strip sack, recovered by the defense, brought out to almost the 50-yard line. Panthers are able to get a first down, knee the ball out, win the game. Panthers pull off the biggest upset of the year, in my opinion. They're now 7-6 going into their bye week before they have to play the Bucks twice, Saints, and Seahawks. The Panthers are still in a very viable position to win the division and go to the playoffs. I can't tell you the last time a Panthers team has been in a position like this outside 2022, and then prior to that 2018, 2017. So it's been some tough sledding if you've been a Panthers fan, but this was probably their most complete game of the year. They made plays on both sides of the ball that were able to put them in position to win the game. And when they needed to make plays, they were able to. This was probably one of the more cleaner games for Bryce Young. He had a couple bad passes, but he also delivered some very good ones, especially late in the clutch. I've started noticing that with him. I think he's better when the pressure's on him. Wish he was like that when there wasn't as much pressure on him. But to each their own. But that was arguably one of the better games to watch all weekend. It was just back and forth the whole time. It was a great game. And then the actual game that I thought was going to actually be pretty good. Bills-Steelers. I didn't really think the Steelers were going to have a chance to win this game, but I thought it was going to be a lot more competitive. Aaron Rodgers was going to be back. I thought it was going to be a nice little close game, but the Bills were going to win by a touchdown. And And the first half was very slow. Not a whole lot of scoring. Like, really bad. And then as the game progresses, the Bills are kind of able to put a couple of drives together, get some points on the board. Aaron Rodgers just looks old and slow. You can tell the hits are actually taking a toll on him. He got hit hard by Joey Bosa, bust open his nose. And to know how bad things are going in Pittsburgh at the presser, Aaron Rodgers kind of deflects some of the faults onto his teammate. Specifically, name dropped Jonnu Smith. Said he made an audible for an in breaking route, and Jonnu ran out breaking route. Me personally, I think you should keep that in house. I don't think you need to put that on blast because that's just going to make you look bad. It's going to make your teammates feel a type of way. I understand where he's coming from because he's still wanting to be competitive, but that is the wrong way to do it. Truly is the wrong way to do it. I still don't think this Bills team is great. I just think they ran into a team that was worse than them, and they were able to take control at one point and milk the clock and get out of there with a win, which is what you really need to do in December. String together a couple wins, put yourself in a position to make that final push to the playoffs, and that's what they did. But not really the best game from the Bills. You can kind of tell their issues on offense. I mean, Josh Allen, touchdown to pick, only had 123 yards. Really, the game fell on James Cook's shoulders, even though he had to carry the ball 30 plus times. Still got 144 yards, but the touchdown went to Josh Allen. And their receiving game is so bad. So bad. Keon Coleman, at this point, might as well just say he's a bust. Truly is a bust. Khalil Shakir, he's good, but he's not going to save you, really. But the only reason that they were able to win, even with how bad their offense is, they ran into a worse offense, aka the Steelers. The Steelers just truly bad. Truly bad. But that's all I got for you this week. I do think we still had a really good weekend of football. There were a lot more exciting games in the 1 o'clock window. You had a couple games go to overtime or potentially go to overtime. Several one-score games. I mean, yeah, you had the Falcons Jets, a one-score game. Jets win. You had Bucks Cardinals. Cardinals trying to make a late comeback. Just barely missed it on the last drive. Bucks win by a field goal. Couple good, exciting games. If you're new here, subscribe, hit the notifications button, let you know when we're posting more content. If you've been around for a minute, like the video, comment, share it with a friend if you think they would enjoy what we got going on. It is Tuesday, so tonight we should be getting the final college football playoff predictions right before conference championship weekend, which then they will post on Sunday, the official bracket, who's in, who's out. Can't wait to get into all of that. I think we're going to have another great week of football going into another good slate of NFL games along with conference championship week. But until next time, deuces.